I came to realize that conversational competence might be the single most overlooked skill we fail to teach. Kids spend hours each day engaging with ideas and each other through screens, but rarely do they have an opportunity to hone their interpersonal communication skills. It might sound like a funny question, but we have to ask ourselves, is there any 21st century skill more important than being able to sustain coherent, confident conversation? Now, I make my living talking to people. Nobel Prize winners, truck drivers, billionaires, kindergarten teachers, heads of state, plumbers. I talk to people that I like. I talk to people that I don't like. I talk to some people that I disagree with deeply on a personal level, but I still have a great conversation with them. So I'd like to spend the next 10 minutes or so teaching you how to talk and how to listen. Many of you have already heard a lot of advice on this. Things like look the person in the eye, think of interesting topics to discuss in advance, nod and smile to show that you're paying attention. Repeat back what you just heard or summarize it. So I want you to forget all of that. It is crap. There is no reason to learn how to show you're paying attention if you are in fact paying attention. And now I actually use the exact same skills as a professional interviewer that I do in regular life. So I'm going to teach you how to interview people, and that's actually going to help you learn how to be better conversationalists. Learn to have a conversation without wasting your time, without getting bored, and please God, without offending anybody. We've all had really great conversations. We've had them before. We know what it's like. The kind of conversation where you walk away feeling engaged and inspired, or where you feel like you've made a real connection, or you've been perfectly understood. There is no reason why most of your interactions can't be like that. The famed therapist Eb Scott Peck said that true listening requires a setting aside of oneself. And sometimes that means setting aside your personal opinion. He said that sensing this acceptance, the speaker will become less and less vulnerable and more likely to open up the inner recesses of his or her mind to the listener. Again, assume that you have something to learn. Social media allows us to customize our society. We can tailor what we read and what we hear according to what we want to hear. We can ignore evidence that refutes our beliefs. And we unfriend people both online and in real life. Tolerance asks only that you put up with somebody else's existence. Empathy has declined by 40% in recent years. That comes out of research from the University of Michigan. We are in the midst of what one psychologist called a narcissism epidemic. And empathy is really different from sympathy. Sympathy is when you say to someone, I feel for you. Empathy is when you say to them, I feel with you. Empathy is the basis of our moral code. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. It's the golden rule. And it appears in dozens of religions and spiritual practices from all over the world. In Islam, it is none of you truly believes until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself. In Hinduism, it is this is the sum of duty. Do not do to someone else what would cause pain if done to you. And in the tradition of the Pima, a Native American people, do not wrong or hurt your neighbor because it is not he who you wrong, it is yourself. Scientists have found a number of ways for us to increase empathy. You can read a novel, you can play in a band, you can sing in a choir, you can volunteer your time to help other people. But you know what one of the most effective ways to boost your empathy is? It's to talk to strangers. Well, listen to strangers. Learn about what their lives are like, how they get over life's obstacles, what they love, and what they fear. We can talk to people who fundamentally disagree with us, and we can do it without arguing. But hearing an opposing opinion is not inherently abusive. It may be uncomfortable, but it's really the only way that we grow and evolve. To paraphrase Larry King, you will learn nothing from what you say today. You can only learn by listening to other people. First, don't try to educate anybody and do not try to change anybody's mind, because you know what? You probably cannot change anybody's mind. It's really hard. In fact, it's so hard, we almost never change our own minds. That's scientifically true. Most of us suffer from something called the backfire effect. And basically what that means is if we believe something and someone presents evidence to us that refutes our belief, it makes us believe stronger. When we believe it, and then we see facts that say that's not true, it backfires. So don't bother. Don't go into a conversation trying to educate or teach someone. Go in there to learn. And remember the words of Carl Sagan, who in his baloney detection kit said, try not to get overly attached to a hypothesis just because it's yours. Tip number 2, don't prejudge. There's a concept in psychology that's called the halo and horns effect. And basically, if we have a favorable opinion of something, we are already ready to accept and approve of everything that person says or does, and then the opposite. People are complicated, and they're nuanced. And those complications are what make people so damn interesting. You may disagree on nuclear policy, but totally agree on healthcare. You may disagree on just about everything, but both agree that dogs are better than people. Number 3, show some respect at all times. You may think they don't know what it's like to be you. You don't know what it's like to be them. Life is hard, and it's hard for everybody. Maybe you don't approve of the solutions they've come up with. Maybe you think you would have done it a different way. But they think they're doing the best that they can. So show them the respect you demand for yourself. Show them the respect you want for your parents, or your kids, or your best friend. And number 4, stick it out. Don't walk off in a huff. Don't throw your hands up and say, this isn't worth it, this is pointless. I can tell you right now, it's not fun. It is not fun to hear someone tell you that everything you believe is wrong. But take a breath, wait before you respond, and hang in there. We can talk to people that disagree with us, and you know what? We must. I know you're going to hear things that you don't want to hear. But grit your teeth and ask some questions. Why do you think that? What makes you so passionate about that? What's your source? And I hope we could grapple with that instead of discounting the evidence we don't like and embracing everything that proves us right. You know, Facebook tailors your newsfeed so it can fit into your biases. Stop getting your news from Facebook. Take some responsibility for the information on which you base your opinions. I really hope that we can finally begin to have the tough conversations that we've avoided for a very long time. And we're going to have to stop isolating ourselves and start learning how to talk to one another. If we continue to barricade ourselves behind walls, gathering our like-minded tribe around us and lobbing rocks at everybody else, the change will be toward further divisions, increased anger, and a breakdown of our social systems. But if we can find empathy, if we can find understanding, the change could be toward a positive turning point. So get out there. Be uncomfortable. Let yourself be shaken. I know that a lot of people are looking for hope, and I promise you, you can find hope in other human beings. People are not stereotypes. People are better than you think, and they'll surprise you. You can find inspiration and optimism in other people, but first, you have to see them as people, and you have to hear them out. Thanks.